Okay, now we're going to add a pretty generic trope for video games where you need to click a button to turn off or on a barrier. I'm going to create a barrier first, so this will be my... I'm going to create with pistol. I want the barrier to be quite tall, but I need to make sure that the width and the height are not changing at the same time, so I'm going to uncheck maintain aspect ratio. I'm going to make it 250 pixels tall and just hit resize. Now I've got this very tall, thin space. I'm going to create a small little generator style thing down here. Then I'm going to create a big red lightsaber style thing. Slightly lighter on the inside, and a grey down here. This is going to be the animation called on. This is what the barrier looks like when it's turned on. I'm going to add another animation for what it's going to look like when it is off. This one here, I'm going to make it slightly smaller. This is just going to be that little base piece. Alright. And hit apply. I'm going to drag that barrier out. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to just make it a bit bigger so that I can't jump over it. Now, this is not solid yet, so to make it solid, I need to turn it into a platform. So now looking at this in my game, I can go up here, I can jump into it, but I can't get over this. It's a little bit too high for me to jump. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a button that if I step on it, this will turn from on to off. Another sprite. I'll leave it at 32 by 32, and it's just going to be a little thing. I'm going to match it to being red, and then that's stone gray. I'm going to call this the button. To make this solid, I'm going to make it a platform as well, and hit apply. I'm going to put the button down here. So what I want to be able to do is when my player steps on this, change the animation from on to off. Okay, so I'll make a new event, and the condition will be that my player has a collision with the button. When the player has a collision with the button, I want the barrier's animation to change to an animation by name. The animation will be off. So, when the player is in collision with the button, change the animation of the barrier to the off animation. Sweet. So there it is, it's on. I'll click the button. And now it's off. The issue is that it's all the way up here. We need to make sure that it's down here. Because its size is quite small, it's only solid on the actual piece itself. So let's have a look at how we can force it to be on the ground. That's got everything to do with points. The origin up here is where it comes from. Animation 1 and Animation 2. What I want to do is I want to make sure that they don't share points between animations. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to move this origin to the bottom center. For animation off, I'll put it in the same place. So they're both bottom center, but you can see that they are at different positions on that y-axis. Apply. This is going to move it, so I'll just force move it back. And now when I preview, and I walk, onto my button, it has changed to the other animation, and I can get past. You can do this exact same thing as many times as you want. We could call this barrier red, button red, and then we can duplicate it, make barrier blue, barrier green, however many we want. This is one way of doing barriers. Other ways are, of course, you need to click multiple buttons, or what we're going to look at in a second is we're going to toggle this on and off. Alright, so at the moment it just turns it off, but what we want to do is we want to see, is it currently on? If so, turn it off. Or is it currently off? If so, turn it on. The condition will be when the player has a collision with the button. Because we only want it to toggle once, we want to make sure that this bit of code only happens once every time the condition is true. So it'll only happen once, what we're going to put in here, when the player touches the button. We're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to add some JavaScript. So I'm going to take this, put it inside, and if I right click on this, I'm going to add some JavaScript code. I now have this. It'll give me a line of code automatically. I don't need that. To write some code. There are multiple ways of doing this. This is just a relatively easy way. I'm going to make a constant variable, which is going to be the variable. I'm going to need to get the barrier object, so I'm going to look at the runtime scene, the current scene running, get objects, and I'm going to look for the objects called, I called it barrier red. This is going to return a list of every single object, get objects, but we only have one, so I'm going to put 0 in here. It'll get me the first object it finds, but there's only one, so it'll give me that object. I'm going to have another constant variable. This is going to be checking what is the current animation. It's going to be the barriers dot get animation. Get animation. So this will tell me what animation the barrier currently is activated. If the current animation is the off animation, squiggly brackets, I want the barrier to have the animation set to the one with the name on. Else, I'll do an else if, although in this case I technically only need an else. And I'm just going to copy this condition because it's pretty similar. Else if I currently have the on animation, I want to be setting it to be the off animation. So JavaScript is a way to make our projects more advanced and more interesting. What I can see here is, once again, when the button is pressed one time, so as soon as it's pressed, only do this stuff once, find the barrier, tell me what animation it's currently got. If it's off, change it to on. If it's on, change it to off. Alright, so it's changed, and now it can toggle on and off. So your game may use something like this. If you just want it to turn off, there was the first method that we used, but this one here I think is pretty useful. We could also be changing this object animation as well if I had like a active, unactive animation or an up and down front switch, but this is some code to get that done. Alright, next time we'll have a look at adding some animations to our actual character and slimes to make them look a bit more interesting.